All right, welcome to the latest Blood Money podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Chris Wright, and the topic of the day is AI. How you doing, Chris?
Very good. Thanks for having me on, Ben.
Thanks for coming on the show, Chris. So, Chris, let's just dive right into it. Tell us a little bit about your organization and your background and what you concentrate on right now.
Sure. Yeah, I've got a company called the AI Trust Council, and the whole idea of it is to align AI with humanity as far as safety. But in order to do that, we have to create a product that serves people, and so we do that by helping people figure out what's real and fake online, and what's AI generated versus what's human generated. And so that's really the mission, is to find truth online and establish some sort of trust. So I got into this type of work from my background in the military, actually. I started flying helicopters in the early 2000s and for the Army, and I was flying Longbow Apache attack helicopters, and ended up doing that for a while and got out of the military and took a break from the military for about 10 years, where I served as a contractor in the Middle East and was actually teaching Arab students how to fly the longbow. I was a ground instructor and simulator instructor in the Middle East, and so part of that time over there, it was when the United Arab Emirates was getting struck by attack drones from Yemen, and so these drones were hitting the airports and stuff like that, and so we were tasked to help train the Arab students how to shoot down these drones. And so because of that, I had to get familiar with drone warfare. I would go to a lot of conventions and stuff like that and try to understand drones. And so I really saw the progression of drone warfare and where it was going, and the integration of artificial intelligence into that type of warfare. And it disturbed me. And I think you can see where that is at today. We have a big problem in Russia, and also in Gaza, and also in Ukraine, with drone warfare being used with AI. So I got to think about like our current political situation, where we're going as a country, that kind of thing, and realized very quickly, well, whoever's in charge of this drone warfare system and also AI as a whole, will have the keys to the kingdom. And most people on Earth don't really realize that, or not even thinking those terms. And so I wanted to raise awareness about it. And so, so that's what got me to start the AI Trust Council. And so I've been busy doing that.
How much of a risk are we under right now? I mean, it seems like the AI is already, and the drones, the AI, the robotics. I mean, it's come to a point where they're a genuine threat to humanity.
100%. Most people don't realize the sophistication of the technology. I mean, you actually have drones that are, getting PhD level IQs in warfighting, and so these drones can come in from all different angles. They're very creative. They swarm. They have, internal communications that's very difficult to pick up because the way they fly. And so the whole drone industry is actually moving towards AI because it's actually more effective than the typical first-person viewer drones. And so the progression of warfare is turning into basic Terminator 2 style warfare. And so that movie was really a good warning for us, because we're actually seeing details from that movie come to life today. And so I work in tech and building out the AI Trust Council website, and I run into senior engineers that are okay with extinction as a consequence of the technologies and AI that they're building. And so it's a weird dynamic that's occurring, and really people just aren't taking safety seriously enough. And so it's a big issue.
I mean, when you talk about like them being, people being okay with extinction, I mean, what's going on there?
That's a weird one. It's really a strange situation. And for your audience, this is probably one of the most.
We're talking about people that are okay with the suicide of the human race. I mean, that's what we're talking about, basically, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what gives anybody the domain to make that decision? It's just such an insane concept that, like, somebody would, hey, it's extinction's okay. It's an okay price to pay for AI.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, which we were told this in 1992 through the Terminator movies. I mean, it's not like we haven't had 3 decades of warning about this topic.
Yeah, 100%. It's bizarre. The argument that I get from when I get into these conversations with people in tech is that it's our natural progression as humans that we will merge with artificial intelligence. The sooner we do it, the better, and through that we will naturally die off. And so their goal is to merge the species into a digital form, meaning that they will upload our consciousness to a digital cloud. So therefore, we would be, immortal and able to explore the cosmos. And they actually get into cosmos talk when you go down this rabbit hole. And so these guys are, they grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons. They love sci-fi. They dress up in Star Trek costumes all the time. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you take that mentality to the real world, it's like, no, like there are actually humans here that don't want to die, that don't want to live out some sort of Star Trek fantasy.
And the argument doesn't make logical sense, right? Because if you are, let me put it this way, Chris, if you're the guy that invented this complex thing called the human creature, right? And these other complex things called, animals and the earth, right? If you're the maker of that, then I'd say, you know what, Chris should have a say in like whether that lives or is destroyed, right? Just because you're able to create weapons that destroy humankind, that's like saying the people that created the nuclear weapon all of a sudden have domain over whether human beings live or not because they created the nuclear weapon. But no, they didn't create humans. How could you see what I'm saying? There's a lot of logic here where you would think that, these guys that are so intelligent that play Dungeons and Dragons, which you do need some intelligence to do that. I mean, you think they think a little bit deeper than that,
Yeah, I think that they're very fact-based and they're not spiritually, evolved, I guess. And so they look at details and they're very black and white. And so they're all about data. And so when they look into these problems and they look into the future, they compile data and they make decisions off that data. And so you can take somebody like Bill Gates, who's trying to, or Noah Yuval Harari from the World Economic Forum, guys like that. They believe in this future of transhumanism, and it's this merging of man and machine. And so they're happy to what they call speciate. And speciate means that they're changing the species from human 1.0 to human 2.0. So it's like a software upgrade, and that's the way they view it. But they view that that's our natural progression, and they view humans in our current form as a placeholder for technology. And
I mean, we've seen this experiment play out, though. I mean, you could argue that the pharmaceutical industry was this more perfection of humankind that wasn't doing as well because of not having certain vaccines and pharmaceuticals or whatever. I mean, we saw that play out. Turns out that leads to a bunch of ailments and our overprescribing of medication, which we thought was going to improve, human 2.0, whatever you call it. So, I mean, that kind of line of thinking, and am I being reasonable here? I mean, you tell me, does that make sense, that line of reason?
Yeah, it's and one of the key points, though, is to align our thinking and really understanding the perspective of where they're coming from, like the Bill Gateses and, the Noah Yuval Harari type folks. And so they actually have played out the AI scenario very deeply in their minds, and they're seeing where the artificial intelligence takes us. And so if you do that, if you go through that mental exercise of, high IQ robots and high IQ digital agents that are hundreds or thousands or billions of times smarter than humans, you end up with a situation where work is no longer the same. Human purpose is no longer the same. The way we live is no longer the same. And so they've taken it upon themselves to engineer the future of humanity to align with these changes in high technology. So it's not that the technology needs to change, it's that the humans need to change to upgrade to adapt to the high technology, and that's really where they're coming from. And so a lot of the decision making that you see from these guys is based in this really a dystopian future, and so they and that's where you start to get into the depopulation mindset, because they think like, well, we have all these people, these humans here on Earth, we don't necessarily need them all, and so that's really the their thinking. So
I mean, it sounds like a bunch of not very well endowed little men trying to play God. I'm sorry. I mean, it just sounds like that's what it sounds like. It sounds like this is their version of a Ferrari.
yeah. It's interesting. I mean, you have folks that like Bill Gates. He's had pies smashed in his face. He's been made fun of. And I wrote an article called "The Geeks Are Getting Out of Hand." I actually had an article called "No Speciation Without Representation." It was posted on Dr. Robert Malone's Substack this last week, but it gets into the details of what is actually going on within tech, and it gets into the details of their mindset, and it's unfortunate, but it's a situation where you're getting a division of people, where there's a camp that is pro-human and wants to preserve humanity, and then bring AI into alignment with us to ensure that we stay in control of this technology and that we can dominate it and use it for our benefit. So that's one camp. And then you also have this other camp that's not pro-human. And so if they're not pro-human, it's like, well, what are they? And so I've started to call them extinctionists, because they're perfectly okay with human extinction as a consequence of the development of this technology.
I mean, how do you look at something like this and say this is not more like a satanic, like Luciferian agenda, if you want to look at it like religiously? Because it seems like a bunch of human beings that want to play God and really be promoting a massive genocide, Holocaust. I mean, sounds like some psycho stuff.
Yeah, so I think that that's, you can look at the Georgia Guidestones as an example. It's written there. 500 million total world population is the aim. And the excuse that they use when you question them on it is that humans have been bad to the earth, and in fact that is true. You can look at the ocean, the amount of pollution, plastics and everything. We're getting plastics in all our bodies because of the amount of pollution. The air is a mess. Literally we're destroying the planet. But we have high technology today, and that's one thing they don't talk about. They don't talk about applying this high technology to solve a lot of these complex problems of pollution and the destruction of the planet. This is one of the arguments that Elon Musk gets into routinely, is that you have this group that wants to depopulate, and then another camp that actually wants to increase the population. And so with high technology, with AI, with fusion technology is amazing. Nuclear, there's a variety of new technologies that are transformational.
Yeah.
If you apply those, you could have free energy. You could have 3D printed homes, which is something that's coming out. You can have vertical gardens and things like that you could feed a lot of families and not deplete the world's natural resources. And that's all.
I mean, it's because we're living in like the paradigm of the elite, of the 1%, that we're in this mess. So in a way, they're like, this 1% class is like, okay, use plastic bottles, use plastic, blah, blah. It's not like you and I were like, hey, we're fine with glass. I remember when I was growing up, the Pepsi used to come in a glass bottle. You recycled the glass. But then all of a sudden, these 1%ers were like, here's all this plastic. So it's almost like they give you the problem, and then the solution to the problem is killing off everybody, where really the solution to the problem should be to create a different paradigm, like the one that you're talking about, where I'm sure with sustainable living standards like that, I mean, this earth could probably sustain, 30, 40, 50 billion people if it's the right way. I mean, what would you say?
Oh, no, 100%. I mean, you look at Kazakhstan, you look at, northern Canada, you look at, a lot of these places around the world, Mongolia. I mean, it's vast, empty portions of the world. I've done a lot of international flights, and, you stare out the window on the plane, and you're looking down, and there are no lights. There are no roads, there are no people. And it's to say, and it's not to say that that's, it's nice to have a natural environment, but this argument of that, hey, we've overpopulated and we have to kill everybody off in order to have this utopian future. It's an unusual, weird, it's almost like a mind virus way of looking at humanity. And I think it does get dark, and you could almost say demonic.
Why is it that, I mean, I got to ask you this question. Why is it that when it comes to movies and things like that, right? When it comes to movies, we're all against the bad guys that want things like this. Right? In a movie, like if you're watching a James Bond movie and there's like a bad guy that's like, hey, let's kill off 95% of the population, you automatically know that that's the villain of the movie, right? So, and then we always put ourselves in the James Bond in James Bond's shoes, we want to go kill that villain, right? But when it comes to real life, it seems as though people are not willing to stand up against the real villains.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of programming. There's manipulation of our testosterone. That's something that's underway right now. You got testosterone levels, all over the place, especially in the United States, dropping drastically. So a lot of those protective instincts that you've had in the past are subdued right now. It's subdued through messaging, and it's really chemical and chemical warfare, and then also mind control. General Mike Flynn came out with a book called Fifth Generation Warfare. Dr. Robert Malone came up with one called Psywar, but basically it's all about psychologically programming the population to remain quiet and remain docile while this unbelievable raping of our planet and humanity is underway.
What is the current, what is there that we could do about AI, and what is the current risk that we face, like most imminent in terms of what is happening with AI?
Yeah, so right now we have to get our arms around it, and this is a no joke, real deal. It's life or death. This is about as serious as it gets right now. It's hard to see it today, and it's hard to see through all the hype. The $1 trillion marketing budget of a lot of this, these AI products and services that are coming out are camouflaging the true risk. And so you can actually get a sense of that risk when you look at OpenAI. You've had 10 alignment or safety and alignment researchers. These are data scientists that their goal is to make sure that AI stays in alignment, meaning that it doesn't kill us and it stays safe for humans. You've had 10 of those folks leave, either being fired for speaking out about the safety, or quitting because they're like, hey, we're bringing these issues to the senior management, Sam Altman, and they're just not getting listened to. And so because of that, they're like, hey, well, I don't want to be the cause of the end of the human species. And so the scary thing is you have senior leaders who are running these tech companies that have this anti-human mind virus. I mean, these guys are okay with extinction. And I think that, for us as the, we're all riding on the ship together, and my background's aviation. And so I look at this situation like aviation, it's all about safety. It's all about, accident prevention. And what I'm seeing is we're being about as rambunctious and nuts as you could possibly be from a safety perspective. And actually you have diabolical freaks that are running the ship, and so we're headed towards a cliff. It's up to us, the people, to say, hey, no, nice try, guys, but we're not going down with the ship here. We're gonna take the safe option, and so that's one of the principles in aviation is that. That if there's two choices, you should try to take the safest choice in aviation, and that's a decision-making tool. And so right now, we're definitely not taking the safest choice. We're taking the most profitable, or the choice that actually provides the most control. And so it's a race of dominance in AI, and it's a race for profitability and market dominance. And so through that, you have this enormous risk potential unfolding, and there's no one slowing it down. And so it really falls on the people who get it. And so that's actually why I'm building the AI Trust Council, and to help people who have a sense of safety and a sense of what it means to be a human, so that we can have a network where we can talk, we can weigh in, we can participate in social media and have polling. One of the key points of it is that we can highlight AI safety organizations and say, hey, this one's a good one, and actually this other one's a bad one because it's actually paid for by big tech. And so that's actually what's happening right now in the AI safety realm, is you have a lot of these safety organizations that are actually funded completely by big tech. So they're not telling you the real story. They're not telling you the actual details of what's going on in AI safety.
Again, if this is a James Bond movie and there's a bunch of like sinister geeks, right, sitting there plotting to, like, you know, your Bill Gateses, whatever, you know, central casting, they're sitting there plotting to destroy humankind and you know, genocide 95% of the human race. There would be prosecutions, right? These people are sitting there making a genocidal decision. Shouldn't these people be prosecuted through the courts?
Yeah, and I'm concerned. I'm concerned with you know, their back is really up against a wall right now. You know, we have the November elections coming right up, and you know, Trump almost got taken out the other day. You know, and so I think that you have this do or die kind of moment where you have the separation of camps, where this one camp is just, you know, they're do or die. And so I think they're willing to almost do anything, including initiate a world war in order to disguise and dominate the situation. It's like they're hell bent on making the you know, the future into what they want, and so they have a vision for the future, and they don't really want you know, an alternative. And so Trump and his platform is an alternative. And it's a way that we can, you know, safely move through the next 4 years. That, you know, a lot of people don't realize, but the whole point about unity into 2030, or, you know, you look at the WEF, the World Economic Forum, and they're constantly talking about, you know, 2030. And it's like, well, why is that year so important? Why are we so focused on 2030? And it's really because of artificial intelligence, and it's because of this, you know, unbelievable amount of technology that is being created from AI. You know, you have all sorts of biological and chemical things that have never been possible before, but now with AI, we can create a lot of these new products. You know, free energy, just, you know, different types of things that we never even thought possible. And actually, we don't even know what the future holds. There's a lot of amazing things that are going to come out of this future. And so what they want is they want to be in control of it, and they want to help steer it and towards their interest. And so you have to really look at their core, you know, what drives them. And if what is driving them is actually like a population reduction agenda, it's on us, the people, to push back. You know, and so there's certain techniques you can use to identify this trait in people's thinking. You know, you can actually ask them, are you a fan of more people on Earth or less people on Earth? You know, are you pro-human, or are you an extinctionist? You know, you know, if AI was going to destroy humanity, would you keep it going, or would you try to make it safe, pause it? You know, those types of things. And so these guys, they're programmed to, you know, in a certain direction. And so it just so happens that they're very well spoken. They're very good at, you know, leading us down this road. And it almost gets into like biblical territory where you have, you know, it's like victims, you know, and then you have people that are you know, the abusers. And so I look at, you know, our current situation as abusive, and ultimately it's on the abuser or the abusee, the person, the victim, to push back against the abuser. And as long as you continue taking it, and it's almost like you can compare it to a you know, personal relationships. I think a lot of people, you know, people have been in abusive relationships, and you're just like, hey, why don't you just push back? Why don't you just leave? Why don't you just, you know, do something? And so it's kind of a natural thing that happens where unless you stand up and you know, like literally, you know, say, no, stop, enough, like we're not doing this, the abuser will just continue. And so I think that's actually what they're waiting for. And you can actually study, you know, Satanism, and that's one of the core principles of it, is that it's almost like this just nature. You know, it's like look at the African plains. You have these lions that, will continually kill like buffalo or whatever. And it's just a natural order of things. And so I think that these, leaders that we have, around the world, believe that it's their duty to lead and to, do this abusive kind of, techniques to us. And as long as we're passively going along with it, not looking up from our phones for 2 seconds to realize we're about to go off a cliff, then they're like, well, you guys weren't smart enough to look away from your phones for a second, and so if you end up going off the cliff, then that's your problem. And, too bad, so sad. And we get to inherit the earth with our 500 million, and, the rest of you guys, we're too dumb. And so I think that's actually their mentality.
Wow. All right. So tell us about the AI Trade Council. I mean, how does that organization go against these, like, I mean, extremely well-financed individuals? I mean, we're talking about multi-billion-dollar deep pockets.
Yeah. So it starts, it's really grassroots, and that's where the, we have a lot of power today in the United States. We have free speech still for now. That could change soon. You see that they were actually arresting people in England for, saying certain things, school teachers and stuff for teaching the wrong topics. But that agenda can come here very quickly. And so, we have a short period of time. And so the thing is, we've been, allowed these capabilities. And so, the grassroots is very, very powerful. And so really the AI Trust Council, it's made up of high trust individuals. Initially, the current window is open for people who are firefighters, EMTs, commercial pilots, military veterans, humanitarians, air traffic controllers, and really the humanitarians is the catch-all. So if you can get 5 people to endorse you for being a humanitarian, someone who's done something good for other humans, it means you're a humanitarian, and it means that you have a certain mindset of helping humans, and so there's and it actually separates people, because there's a lot of people that aren't pro-human, and they're not helpful towards other humans, and they're actually resentful and they do things to hurt humans. And so what we're trying to do is build a network of people who are pro-human, who care about the future of humanity, who care about technology, who want good things. And so from that, once you're on board as a member, you can appoint 5 other people as your trust council. But what that does, it creates a LinkedIn style platform that is made up of people of high trust initially, and it's their friends and family that they trust. So, once you get through that first layer of, professional qualification, the next layer is their friends and family of anybody that they find trustworthy. And so the whole concept is it develops a network of high trust, like LinkedIn, where you can get endorsed for different things, for being honest, for having good intent and that kind of thing. And anyway, but it's a social networking site that allows for the creation of a lot of new products. And so we're looking at private lending as an option. We're looking at private insurance groups as an option, and really the ability to poll each other and say, hey, do you like this type of AI? Or do you think this is a problem? Do you think this is a mental health issue? Or do you think this is safe for kids? It's so that's really the intent of the AI Trust Council is to balance, the opinion on AI safety and say, hey, like, we think this is good, we think this is bad, and have some sort of responsible network where they're actually looking out for humans, and it's not a control organization. It has no influence other than just opinion, but we can point out evildoers. We can point out people who are doing bad stuff, and say, hey, look, like, even though this might have a shiny package on it that looks nice, it's actually all funded by big tech. And so we don't want to get hoodwinked when it comes to AI safety. We want authentic, real safety organizations, and there's a lot of those that are popping up. But we want to be able to weigh in and evaluate those, and so that good people can say, hey, I like this safety organization, I don't like that. I like these recommendations. And really, if we're going to control artificial intelligence, it has to be done at the local level. People need to be able to weigh in locally on how far AI goes. You're going to have 1 billion IQ systems that are capable of just taking over all jobs, whether it's through robotics or through a digital agent on a screen. So that means if you work from home, it means that you can be completely replaced if you work from a keyboard and a screen. The AI is getting that good where it can actually mimic exactly what you're doing. So every Zoom call you're doing today, that data is getting collated and put into a data set, and it's actually creating an intelligence that can mimic executive level behavior. And so that's what you're getting, is you're getting basically a PhD in all things applied to a digital agent, so that no matter what the job is, you're going to have a single digital agent that could be a marketer, could be a executive, could be a finance person, could be a you name it, but it could do pretty much anything. And so once Google's creating some of these things, like bunch of companies are competing to create this new digital agent. Once those hit the market, though, it's game over for work. And so I wrote an article recently about the end of labor, and so that's really what's happening. Is that this is probably our last Labor Day, where things are the current, we're under the current paradigm. The historical paradigm. The future paradigm is weird, and it actually gets into a position where labor is just different. And so if you're an hourly worker, or doing something that's kind of repetitive, those jobs are going to be gone soon, like very soon. And then if you're white collar, different type of work, it's those jobs are getting taken too. So you have to the point where you're going to have CEO level intelligence capabilities in these AI systems, and ultimately you can replace all humans. Obviously there's going to be some good ideas and things like that humans are capable of coming up with that AI can't. But when you have an AI that can problem solve, that can reason, that can think creatively, that can be a researcher, a scientist, that can literally do anything and actually forecast into the future, good solutions to problems that beat out the best minds in the world. It's like, well, why would we listen to a human at that point? And so that's what's on the table here, is that you actually have this ability to create a brilliant leader, and then starts to get into biblical territory. But that's one of the things that the tech leadership want, is they want an AI God, and they actually believe in a spirituality of this, because it's a when you have this 1 billion IQ system, that's able to lead people, you start to get into a whole different realm. And the problem is that our human IQ is very low in comparison to these systems. I mean, obviously we have a spirit, and we have the capability of thinking outside the box and things like that. But these high IQ AI systems, they've beaten humans in every single game imaginable. Some of the most complicated things you can imagine. They've creatively come up with new patterns and solutions to problems that they were never trained on. So it means that we're going to get outgunned and outmatched, like, really, really quickly. And so it's up to us if to shape the future that we want. And if we sit here passively, we don't do anything, we're going to be delivered on a platter the Bill Gates solution. And so that's what's coming. So.
Wow. It's like, I'm thinking, like, there's many ways like humankind could evolve. It's not like AI is the only way we could have evolved. I mean, one of the other things is, our intelligence seems to have been suppressed, through fluoride and chemicals and all of that. So we don't even know our full potential without all this, without all this chemical nonsense and things that suppress our abilities. So it just, the whole thing seems very odd and convenient for people in power, that this is the technology that's been developed, versus the other, plentiful myriad of realities. You know what I mean? Like, for example, technologies to help eradicate all disease or clean the planet Earth. I mean, why is this being pushed? It seems like there's a deeper agenda behind this, really, to erase most of humankind.
Yeah, I think that you have to dig into the satanic agenda, and really start to study, their line of thinking, in terms of Satanism and that kind of thing, to really understand the globalist viewpoint. And so we've allowed ourselves to, participate in this. It's a satanic system that we live in right now, and that gets into biblical territory where they talk about, the devil's like, the king of this world, and ultimately we're in a battle right now. We're in a spiritual battle, for the souls and the lives of the humans that are here, and so do we allow the people to get dominated and destroyed, from the inside out, biologically, mentally, on a soul level, we're getting transformed. Do we allow that, or do we push back and say, no, like, we've had enough, nice try. And really it gets into banking. This whole thing gets into, it's called tacit compliance, and tacit compliance is a concept in Satanism where, if it gets back to that victim, abuser concept. But if you go along with, the abuse, and you pay with, US dollars, and you allow, you ride along on their system, it means that you're complying, and you're going along with it, and you're not pushing back, you're not creating your own solutions to these things. And so that's why crypto is transformational. So if you have cryptocurrency that's backed by gold and silver, it is a solution to counteract this globalist agenda. It's a very easy solution that we can transform from this one system into a new system. We're all very familiar with it. I've got a Coinbase credit card, that I use, and so life as you know it can be very, very simple. Literally, it's just taking one bank account and transferring it over to another bank account. That's it. And having crypto be the currency, and you can back that up by gold and silver.
So you're saying that, like, just getting rid of US dollar and these currencies that support this kind of anti-human agenda, that would be an action that regular people could take.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And that's actually, it kicks them in the balls. it takes them down. Basically that's how they've got the power. That's their control. It's the currency. And so if they've got control over the currency, and we continually go along with it, that is their method of control over humanity. And so we can counteract that by going crypto. And you don't want, obviously they're going to try to control crypto too, but what you want something that is backed by gold and silver, that is, so if things go sideways and, the world goes to hell, then, there's massive power outages, whatever. You could still trade in physical gold and silver, as coin. And we could still have, actual US dollar, from the Treasury rather than the Federal Reserve. If we do that, then, regardless of a cyber attack, cyber pandemic, or, some sort of power outage, you'd still be able to transact and, keep track of things. But you want that currency backed by gold. And so that is the solution. That is the way that we get out of this problem, is by going directly. It's our money. It's just a form of exchange between people. And we have that right to choose how we spend, and these guys want to control that.
Yeah. Is there anything we didn't talk about in terms of the work you're doing in AITC that you'd want to mention before we wrap up this episode?
Yeah. The Artificial Intelligence Trust Council is just getting started. We have a landing page website right now, but if you have any viewers that would want to hop on there and sign up, it's a placeholder. And so right now, our current website is getting built. We're looking. We have funding coming in, but it's been slow, obviously, because we're going against the system. This is grassroots, so it's been difficult. But good things are happening, and more people are getting aware. And but you can go to the AITC.com. You can sign up there, and it gets your name on the list. And once the real website's up, then it's going to open up a whole world of capabilities. So some of the cool aspects of the website when it comes out is that we have some unique ways of viewing data. We also have a capture for metadata, so that as you operate on the site, you actually have a wallet where your activity goes into a wallet. So instead of big tech, the typical paradigm right now is that all your metadata, all your activities on a website, it all goes to Mark Zuckerberg or whoever, and then they resell it to advertisers or whoever else, and so it develops a profile on you as a person, where they understand the noises you make when you sleep, how many times you blink, how your eyes move on a screen. Literally, they know every detail about you as a person, to include what's coming as now mind reading. That's coming out, the ability to determine emotion from your devices. So all these capabilities are there, and they're like a vacuum cleaner sucking up all of your available data, and they're using that data to help model and control you as a person, and then digitally recreate you. And so that gets into the whole transhumanism thing and their vision of the future. But so we're saying, no, that's stupid. That's not a good system. What we're going to do instead is have a wallet where you individually control it. It's your personal property. You should have control over that. And so as this AI future unfolds, by having that digital wallet that captures your metadata that you control, then you can broker that yourself, and then you can actually earn an income on that metadata, and so you can have passive income. And so what we're trying to do is create a system where people can vote and poll. And so by being honest, posting things that are real, posting things that are not AI generated, and having a truthful perspective on things, we're trying to encourage that. And so we're trying to help people build high quality metadata that they can then sell themselves. And so that's a unique feature. But we have some real cool ways to view data. It's like, why if you were to work at Meta, or you work at some of these Microsoft or whatever, I guarantee they have a backdoor view into you and your profile online, and so they can see all these real wild details about every aspect of you as a person. It's like, well, but you can't see that as the user. It's hidden from you. It's like it's behind the curtain. So what we're trying to do is flip that situation so that you can actually start to review your own information and take control of your data. And really the future is data. And so whoever controls the data controls the future. What we're trying to do is give that data to the people and let the people be in control of it. So stand by. There's good stuff coming. And but please sign up, and you're on the forefront of a really amazing future. But it just it takes all of us to come together to make it happen.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for coming on to the Blood Money podcast. Definitely follow Chris on the AITC.com. For the viewers out there, make sure you check out AmericaHappens.com. Make sure you check out our Roku channel, our Apple TV channel, or our Amazon Fire channel, which we are on Smart TV now. Thank you so much for showing up to this episode of Blood Money. I will see you all on the next episode. Take care.